Hey guys, tonight I'm going to be showing you how to add sounds to your map. Now what we're going to be doing is using point sound events. We're going to be editing a text file in your sound events add-on folder and adding sounds to the sound folder to get them to work on your map. So let's get right into it. So on your map, you have these point sound event entities. I've pre-placed a few around this example map I'll put on the workshop later. For now, I'm just going to show you how to make 4 of them just to show you guys how to go about the process. First things first, you will need 2 things. One being, let me get to it. One being the default sound events add-on text file that comes in an add-on when you create it normally. I just have the default copy here and a special copy pasta template that I will show you here in a second. The other 2 things that you will need are Wavesaur, which is a WAV file editor. You can grab that from their website, download Wavesaur, and 64-bit Windows what I have, so that's what I'm going to download. I'm not going to get it now because I already have it. Just showing you where to get it, wavesaur.com. And a great place to find sounds that I've pulled all my sounds from is a website called Pixabay. It's a royalty-free, free use license sound hosting site where you can find all kinds of things that you could ever think of. They have a large amount of files for, it's 500 nature sounds alone. You can find just about anything on here. Whether you're going to decompile maps to use sounds or find sounds elsewhere is up to you. So to get started, I got my 4 sounds that I want to use. First thing we need to do, take this text file, copy it, and paste it into your add-on. Your add-on may already have sound events and sounds. If it already does, don't worry about it. You can use what's already in there. It'll be the same file. I don't, so I'm just pasting it in. The next thing we need to do is grab our copy pasta template. I must have done something with this earlier. Yeah, apparently it did. All right, here's our copy pasta template. Sorry. Now, the file formatting is important. You can see I just tabbed that over. It's a 1-tab space. It needs to stay that way when you copy paste it into the other text file. I'm going to do that right now just to show you what we have to do, and then I'll come back to edit it later when we have our sound. So jump back to your add-on folder, CSGO, content, add-ons, sound example is what my map's called, the sound events folder. Open up that text document with a formatting text editor. It's important. So here we are. That's the default. It starts with some encoding stuff at the top and some information about how these things work and the ones that Valve have generated as examples in the example add-on sound event thing that you get when you start a new add-on. I don't really know how all of these things work. I just know a default template for one sound event that you can use to generate as many sound events as you want. There's all sorts of hierarchies that you can do with these things, like having a parent sound to call other sounds. I'm not going to get into all that, because I don't know how yet. Hopefully one day I will, and I'll do more, like another video maybe, but for now we're going to do the manual copy pasta method. Thanks to source2 Zombie Escape Discord for teaching me this, by the way. Okay, so formatting. Formatting is important. This is the start where the formatting begins, and it runs all the way through. Now what we're going to do is we're going to paste our first template up top. Now remember, format's important. Tab it over once. and this will be our first sound. I'm not getting rid of any of this. Not getting rid of any of this stuff below, because some of this stuff, like in here, these base sound event templates, these are all base formatting that your sounds will need to use, and the sounds that are in here need to use already. So don't delete it. There may be another way to do it and set it up, but this is what works for me. So we have our base template, paste it in there. We'll get back to that in a second. So my first sound I want to use is this low ambience wind. I'm going to open up Wavesaur because it needs to be a WAV file. Hammer will use MP3s, but I need to make looping sounds for my areas so that they continue playing. And the way to do that is by making loop points in a WAV file. So you can just drag and drop first sound into Wavesaur. You can see it here. Easiest way to do this is Tools, Loop, Create Loop Points. And it'll place a loop point at the start and end of your WAV file. Now, save. What I do is just add looping to the end, so I know I changed it to a looping sound. Save as desktop. So now I have a looping sound version. You can close the mini sound file. You minimize this when you get back to it. And that's our first sound. I'm going to do one first, just to show you how it works, and I'll do the other three quickly. Okay. So, back to our template and our add-on folder. We're going to go back. We're going to go to our sounds folder. We're going to drop our created sound in our sounds folder. I'm going to copy paste the name for ease. So it's in there to where we want it to be. Now come back to our template. It's the first thing you want to do. At the top of the template is the name. This is the name that will appear in the sound list when you go to find it. So I'm pasting a new name. The sound I'm using is kind of low volume, so I'm going to cheese it here. And I'm going to up it to 3 for its play volume. You can edit it before, but I'm just doing it this way. It's faster. The next thing you need to change is the file location. Sounds / file name. Put it in there. And you don't want to change the end, because this is actually the extension that Hammer uses when the file is compiled. We'll come back to that. Now, the next thing are 3 sets of values for distances and their fade-off values. Don't change these last 4 numbers. If you want to mess with them, you can. I don't really know exactly how they work. I just have an idea, so I'm leaving them as is. But first things first. The first number is a distance for each thing. 0 units from the sound event entity, 128 units from the sound event entity, 256 units from the sound event entity. So at 0 units from the entity, play at 0.5 sound, which is half. Or at 128, play 0.125. At 256, play 0, which is no sound, so the player won't hear it anymore. We're going to change that for our sound. Where this sound is going on my map is here in the tunnel connections. I want the player to hear some wind as they're walking through the tunnel. Now, how I've determined my sizes is by, I made my handy dandy donut here. Drag it over so you can see visually. This is where the sound will be triggering. As they walk in, that furthest distance is where it'll start playing. The second number is the, where half volume will be. So it'll get louder. And then at the center is where it'll be playing in full volume. And it'll fade between the two. So it's not going to be like, low, mid, full. It's going to actually fade through, which is nice. So these numbers, because I made my donut, I can find the sizes easily. You can use this, basic technique on your map too to figure out what distances you're going to need. That might be more difficult on a more difficult geometry map. I made this example map really simple. They're just really simple 64 grid, 1024 by 1024 rooms, and really simple 480 by, what is it? 480 by, that's a little bit bigger, 512 by 204. That's okay though. We'll just deal with that. So the two distances I need are 240 and 480. Back to the template file. So at 0, from the point entity, I want the sound to play at full volume, which is 3. So 3.0. At, I'm a little bit sick, you have to deal with me. 240, 480. So at 240, I want the sound to be half its volume, which is 1.5. And then at 480, I want it to play at no volume, 0. So I'm going to save, leave it like that. Everything's where it needs to be. Now, the funny thing, you can't use it right now. You have to compile it first before it'll appear to be usable in Hammer. And the easiest way to do that, and the only way to do that, is compile your map. I'm just going to run a no viz, no lighting build. Easy peasy, really fast. The reason we have to do it this way is the tool that would normally do this is shipped with Half-Life Alyx. It's not a part of CS2's Hammer tools, so you have to do it manually this way for now. So, launched our map, it's been built. We'll go straight back to Hammer. Alright, where we're placing the sound event is right here. At this point, sound event. Now, I seem to have done something earlier. Anyway, so when you grab it, this is what it'll look like. You want to Alt-Enter just to open the window. We're going to find our sound event name by searching. I put looping at the end of my sound. So looping, search, there it is. Nice. Now you want to select it. Don't double click it. Don't do any of this stuff. It kind of fucks up the file structure. So just pick it. Select. Alright. Start on spawn, so it'll be playing. I think it's not on by default. Start on spawn, so it's always playing. Doesn't have to be triggered to turn on. And you're good. Alright, just going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to compile again. Alright, we're in.
Let's show them who we are.
Restart kill
Move
times,
it, move it.
so I don't have to wait. Now, when we walk in the tunnel, we should hear something. Look at that. We have wind in our tunnel. See how it fades as you get further away? It gets louder as you get closer. Because the sound event's literally sitting right here. As you get further away, it should fade some more. And as you leave the tunnel, it fades off completely. The player can't hear it anymore. Aha! Alright. That's our first sound done. Nice. Next up, our next sound. I'm going to do all the rest of the 3 right now, just so see the workflow here. My next sound is wind blowing in trees. Same thing. You can mess around with other settings in here if you want, but I already have the sounds the way I want them, so I'm just going to create my loop points like I did before. Loop points started in, good. Save as, desktop, looping, save, close the mini window. That was the second sound. Now third sound, morning forest ambience, tools, looping, create loop points, file, save as, looping, close the mini window, and now our fountain sound for that rushing water. Yeah. Tools, loop, create loop point, save as, looping. Now you don't have to do this if you want a sound that just plays and doesn't loop, but all the sounds I'm using are going to loop. So now we have our 3 more sounds to add in. I'm going to do them one at a time. That's the wrong file. All right, back in our sounds folder, wind blowing trees ambience. All right, open back up our text document. Now our handy dandy copy pasta. Copy, enter, paste. Keep the formatting, remember? Get rid of that tab point so it doesn't add that little funky line. You want that format or it's not going to work. Okay. Wind trees blowing. Copy. Replace the name for the list. Place the file name. I like the volume of this one, so I'm going to change it back to 1. It's the volume of the file, full volume. And the distance is of where I'm placing it. Back to our lovely hammer. Is the room size donut, which is 512 and 1024. So at 0, play at 1.0. At 512, play at half. And at 1024, 0. Right? File save. You don't have to save now, but just have it. That's added the second sound. That's all we needed for the second sound. Now we're going to do our third sound. Same thing. Copy. Paste. Because all of my rooms are the same size for these, which makes it easy for this example. You may have spend more time on your map to get the sizes right. The next sound we want to use is morning forest ambience. So morning forest ambience, drag and drop, copy the name, back in here. All I have to do for this one is change the names. So the name that it'll be in the list and the right file name to call. That one's done. Now my last sound is fountain ambience. So that one's a little different. I'll show you in a second. To copy, paste, drag and drop, fountain ambience, copy. Okay, file names, fountain ambience, fountain ambience. And the distances I need for this one is this little donut here. So this guy is going to sit with the fountain here. That's where he'll be, right there. And it's actually the same size as my tunnel. Nice. 480 and 240. So at 0, play at a full volume. At 240, play half volume. And at 480, no volume, fading to low, but this is also where the player will start hearing it or stop hearing it. Nice. So we have all 4 of our sounds in there. I'm going to save, minimize that. They're all in there. We've compiled the one sound. Now we need to compile the other 3. Compile. All right, easy breezy compile. Back to hammer. We've placed our tunnel sound. Now I want to place a new sound here for the main room. I want it to start on spawn. I don't want it to change or trigger or stop triggering another sound. Now, the source file. Looping. And I want wind blowing trees ambience. Perfect. Select. We're good there. So a windy tree blowing when you spawn. Hear the wind in the tunnel. Now you go off into this second room. The sound for my second room. Start on spawn. Don't retrigger. This is going to be the morning forest ambience. Right here. Nice. Alright. Next is the fountain. The fountain sound we created. We wanted to start on spawn. Don't retrigger. Looping. Fountain ambience looping. Nice. Select. And those are all our sounds. Now, I'm going to compile again so you can hear all our sounds. I really wanted to learn this because when you build your map, you can, visually immerse the player. And with sound, you can also audibly do the same. So the player
Let's have it, lads.
sees, hears, and feels like they're where they are.
Let's roll.
Hear the wind in the tunnel, but you can also hear the birds chirping a little bit. That's morning forest wake up noises. And as we walk up to our fountain, perfect. Exactly what we wanted. So that's how you set up sound events, guys. It's not a hard process, it's just knowing what to do. I know there's a lot more that could be done with them, but this I've found to be the easiest method for setting up sounds simply and easily. It'll really go the extra mile in your maps, and I think it's a really cool technique. Really easy one to include these. I'm gonna go ahead and finish out this map and I'll post it on the workshop. But yeah, that's the process in whole. And yeah, I hope this helps you guys. Have fun.